In early 2009, piracy off the coast of Somalia reached unprecedented levels. Since then, NATO, along with other military forces in the area, have worked to restrict the ability of pirates to carry out such attacks. But a year on, how is the fight against piracy progressing, and is there an end to the problem in sight? The number of piracy attacks has been reduced in the last year, but perhaps more significantly, the ratio of successful attacks has been halved, from a peak of 50% to now roughly 25%. One key weapon in the fight has been to engage the merchant shipping community and better equip them to avoid and resist piracy. At the Northwood headquarters near London, the NATO shipping centre has taken a lead on this.
The key role for the NATO shipping centre in relation to this counter-piracy operation is to help, assist, support the shipping community to take action themselves in order to reduce the incidence of piracy. That is our main objective. We do this by supporting them in development of best management practices. That is guidance and advice of how to plan, how to prepare, and how to thereby avoid being attacked and being taken by pirates. In practical terms, we are talking about self-defensive measures as razor wires, hoses, rigging down ladders. We have electronic equipment to be installed on board, and so on and so on. And not at least keeping a high vigilance and a sharp lookout, I think, is the most important advice we can possibly give the merchants.
Another key initiative has been the establishment of an internationally recommended transit corridor, known as the IRTC, in the Gulf of Aden. This establishes an area with a constant naval presence and reassures shipping that help will quickly be at hand. Despite this, one of the most difficult obstacles to be overcome is the sheer distances involved.
Because we're talking about an area the size of probably about 13 United Kingdoms you could put in there. It's the size of the eastern seaboard of the United States. It's 2.2 square million miles of ocean. And when you have about 15 to 25 frigates, it's obviously a huge area to cover. So what we've been working with the Coalition Maritime Force and the EU is trying to figure out where the pirates are departing from on the coast, positioning warships off the coast, and then stopping them from proceeding to sea.
With such a vast area to cover, it's unrealistic to think that all piracy incidents can be prevented. More worryingly, the trend has been that for those sailors taken, the time they're held in captivity is getting longer and the ransoms higher. But NATO isn't acting in the region alone. The EU naval force under Operation Atalanta and the coalition military forces known as CMF work alongside the NATO force. The EU naval forces headquarters are also in the Northwood base, making coordination between the task forces easy.
One of the key issues for UNAFOR in the fight against piracy, that's the coordination that goes on between the coalition maritime forces and NATO. And for example, on the tactical level, we are coordinating the transit corridor in the Gulf of Aden, and we are also doing very good coordination in the Somali basin. If we are working independently, we just have a couple of ships, and if we are working together, we can provide more ships, we can patrol better, and we can do the better disruptions.
With China, India, Japan and Russia, to name but a few, also contributing naval forces, coordinating such a range of nations is a critical task. With this in mind, the SHADE, or Shared Awareness and Deconfliction meetings, have been set up.
We work with them on a daily basis to know where they are, to communicate with us via a system called Mercury, which is a UN system, which allows everybody to communicate what's going on. If there's an attack, often there will be an MPA from Japan will discover it, a helicopter from Russia will be the first on scene, and then a NATO asset could be the one that goes in to actually deter and disrupt the pirates at sea. So really it's quite a success, the SHADE, where I have sat down often and talked with Russian and Chinese colleagues on how to combat piracy off the coast of Somalia, which ultimately is what everybody's goal is.
And yet the root cause of the problem, the lack of the rule of law and order in Somalia, shows no sign of improving.
The navies from around the world, from NATO, EU and CMF, are putting very expensive assets in and around the coast of Somalia and in the Gulf of Aden. We fully understand that the problem lies ashore, and until the international community is ready to provide some sort of good governance in Somalia, then I still think we're going to have the problem. We are, though, having success, and we've seen that in a massive reduction in the number of attacks and successful attacks in the Gulf of Aden.
Until such governance can be provided, it seems that the NATO forces at sea will be needed to protect this vital artery of trade. This is Deivida Hītfīlda reporting for NATO Channel.